But yeah, Simon, thank you very much. Simon Reinhard, two times Memory League World Champion. He is well, Guinness World Record holder. He has competed since 2005
Five.
in
Five.
memory sports and memory competitions. He is already, or he has recently published a book in German for, but not for memory or chess or anything, but for short stories together with
Right.
a
Right.
friend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and now you started doing things on chess, memory
Right.
related. So I mean, this is a lot of work for one man. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, if things accumulate over a longer time, it is it is possible to do more than one thing at a time. And I mean, it's always so that if you try to do the things that you really like, then it's definitely easier.
Right, yeah, and I think now we have almost matching trophies here on the board. That's cool. So it's like you didn't see, don't see it anyway. So
Okay.
Simon, the first thing what I have for you, I have read a bit about your on your webpage about what you're doing with the chess and so on. And when I was watching videos on chess, people always or very often can just name where they just see the position and they can name, okay, this is from 1984, the game between this guy and this guy, and this guy won. And
Yep.
I am not sure if you can do that, but I would like to test you on that right now.
You want to
So
test me?
I would like to test you now. So on
Okay.
that game, and maybe you can tell me where is that happening, when is it happening, and who was winning. So you see it now on the screen, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, where, when, and who is winning?
I think I can answer that.
Okay.
That was in the year 2007, and it was in Manama, in the capital of Bahrain. It was my first World Memory Championship, and it was after the last day. I can recall that you and me had been playing a bit of chess on the plane, I think, and also
Hmm.
there on site. And yeah, I simply knew after the whole memorization was over, okay, I'm a bit tired, but this Raymond Keane guy is running around. And I knew that he was a chess grandmaster. And I thought, okay, there's still a bit of time before the prize giving ceremony. And I simply asked him whether he would like to play a game. And he was ready to do it. And we were playing without a time control. So it was not like in a 5-minute blitz game or so, but I don't know who of us was in favor of it. I think they simply didn't have a clock. And we were playing, so it was still a rather quick pace. Um, and I don't know what the total duration was of the game, maybe like half an hour or so, or 45 minutes. Yeah, but surprisingly, also for me a bit, I won the game, and I won it not by a blunder of my opponent, but rather in some nice fashion with a sacrifice of a rook against the bishop and then an attack against the king. And it was a bit of a crazy feeling. It was my first Memory World Championship that I had been taking part in. And you know this yourself. I mean, during those 3 days, you are always going over locations and thinking about images, and you are extremely visually active in your mind. And somehow I felt this was the first time that I did those longer disciplines in a competition with like 60 minutes and so on. And somehow I felt a bit different visually. I don't know, it's a bit hard to describe, but I just felt, I know, like you have a bit more visual energy, you can think a bit more or so, just because I had been doing this for 3 days in a row. And during the game, I think I did not calculate almost any kind of variations. I just played the moves that I felt were somehow right and they felt correct. And I have to admit, I didn't have this in this extreme fashion since since then. And I mean, later on, I also checked the game with a computer a few years later, and there were not any really big mistakes. So it was really crazy, and it was a really nice memory.
Cool. So you passed my test here with easily, so no problem. But I
Yeah, well,
I liked seeing you sweat at least for a second. So, but this what you described here was you were like in a tunnel. You were like everything was a bit different after the 3 days of competition because
yeah,
just for people who don't know about the World Championship, it's a 3 days competition. There is, for example, the discipline 1 hour in numbers. So you have to memorize for 1 hour and you have many images. You go through your journeys and stuff like that, and this really had an effect on your mind somehow. And if that was the case, what do you think? How long did this last in this? Um,
I
yeah.
mean, actually, I did not, of course, play a chess game right after that, so I don't know whether the M effect would have endured a few hours longer. So, but I think the next day or so, yeah, it was not like there anymore necessarily. But in that particular moment, it felt, I mean, it's always a bit hard to discern whether this is just a bit of a coincidence. But yeah, I can only say this is feeling of okay that you don't really think about a move, that you simply move, yeah, and that you just feel that the move is right and so on. I just felt that this was made easier by this way of intense concentration over many hours a day. And I mean, chess is also an extremely visual game. So
Mm.
I mean, I had noted some smaller things in the years before after I had started using memory techniques. So what I noted, for example, is that after some intense training sessions, when I was playing pool billiard in the evening or so, it was a bit easier. It felt at least to see the angles of how the ball would be going. It was not like a complete difference, but it was a bit easier. And similar things like suddenly after you have, let's say, trained for him a longer time, um, you suddenly feel that you can, if you want to draw something. Sometimes I like to draw stuff that it's a bit more exact, or that you can draw things suddenly a bit more precisely from your own memory if you are not looking. So this rather small transfer effect I had an experience, but this was a bit larger.
Hmm. Very interesting. And I mean, did you ever experience this transfer effect like the other way around? Like you played a lot of chess and then you had a transfer effect in the other way around, like being better at pool billiard or memory techniques or drawing?
Hard to say. Um, I cannot really say that that's the case, and I
Hmm.
think it might also be based on that using memory techniques is a bit more of a general exercise. Yeah, you are this it is something that you are not really doing in any other activity that you have, because you are basically going along virtual locations and in in a very fast way. So it's not like you're there in some kind of slow meditative way, but quick. And this, I think, is such a focused experience that it might provide for something else than your normal day by day activity.
Cool. Yeah, so Simon is describing a bit here the memory palace technique. So if you want to look that up, you will find under the word memory palace or method of loci, you'll find a lot on the internet. So how did Raymond Keane react to that or the people around him? I mean, he was a grandmaster, and I think he still is. And of course, it was an informal game and was a bit relaxed. But anyway, I mean, um, it must be a bit like, oh, okay, I lost. How do I explain that? I don't know. How was that going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess he might also have been a bit tired from watching these many memory athletes for 3 days. Because, I mean, if you are sitting there and watching over the whole hall and you don't see anything happening apart from people sitting at their chairs, maybe you are in a bit of a more sleepy mood. I don't know. But in an episode, and this is my personal recollection of the whole thing. So I maybe there was really some kind of misunderstanding. But what I can still recall is that a few people were watching. And I can recall that one person was asking him, because I think the person also knew a bit about chess, and they were asking him, hey, it's a bad position, and what's like happening. And as far as I recall, I mean, I could be wrong, but that's how I understood it, is that he told the person that I was a chess journalist that was traveling with him to that place and was there. And yeah, that was not the case, but maybe it was really a misunderstanding and he confused me with some chess journalist or so. So I cannot say. I mean, I always like to give the benefit of the doubt, but that was just a bit of an interesting experience.
It's definitely a memorable story for that, and yeah, I heard that once or twice, and I thought that is really interesting for our viewers as well. So I think you could still play this game, right? Because you replay it by yourself. You don't have to do it right now. It's just a question. So have you replayed that a couple of times and analyzed it with specific tools, or how a chess athlete, chess competitor approaches this after a game?
I mean, I did not look at the game immediately afterwards. It was also interesting. I think I wrote it down immediately afterwards on
Hmm.
some piece of paper, but I did not think about the game that much in the following years. And then after I had moved from one apartment to the other, an opportunity came up where I wanted to look at the game again. So I was searching for that specific piece
Cool.
of paper, and I found it, and I managed to recreate the game. And because the occasion was that I had an interview in 2018 with Chessbase, which
Hmm.
is a big chess company. They are doing DVDs and everything, and they wanted to interview me about this whole memory technique in chess thing. And they were asking me also, as a part of the interview, whether I had a favorite chess game that I had
Hmm.
played by myself. So I sent them this with some analysis and annotations. And yeah, I think that was definitely,
Cool.
and I think still is my favorite game.
Cool. And I think you always played chess as a hobby on the side here and there and online chess. But I'm not sure exactly when, 2 or 3 years ago, you entered a club in Germany. I mean, why didn't you do that earlier? Why was that the right time?
Mhm.
And yeah, what club is it and
Mhm.
where is it? Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was at the end of 2018, so
Hmm.
it will be 4 years soon. But the time before, I was only playing like online chess, and I think I started playing like online chess around 1998 when everyone started to get internet or so. That shows that some age here. And yeah, why didn't I do this before? Honestly, because I was looking around, I think a few years before, and maybe I had the wrong page because I thought there were not so many easily, uh, let's say, accessible or visitable chess clubs in Munich. And the ones that I had seen, I was not super thrilled. But then I stumbled upon another page, I think from the chess department or chess area of the Munich Chess Association or something.
Hmm.
And there was a list, and I noticed that one of the clubs is really close to me, like 5 minutes. And it was the third club that I had been visiting. The other two were also nice, but I somehow liked it. I had the big fortune to um, have my first evening there, the evening that a strong grandmaster was like giving a speech about specific chess topics. And so I had the opportunity to talk with many members of the club, and it was really nice. And I thought, okay, if it's like close and if I like the atmosphere, then I will try it there. And I simply wanted to start playing, and I wanted to start getting a rating and playing in longer games, because I had only done this for about a year when I was 13. That was like my only real chess club activity before. And yeah, the name of the club is the SK Tarasch 1945 Munich.
Hmm.
And yeah, after some years now, I really still like it very much, and I play there in the first team. And yeah, we managed to, by some chance and good occasions, to advance in the higher league last year. So it will be interesting to play in the strongest league I've played until now. Yeah.
Cool. So, and I think the pandemic also played its part there. So there were no memory competitions, so you might have had more time on that. Was it also, yeah, some kind of the story behind you going back to chess?
Yeah, it definitely contributed, I would say, because yeah, after the end of almost all memory activity came so sudden, like in March 2020. Of course, I think many people worldwide thought, okay, what am I doing now with my time? And yeah, for me, I had already played in the second team of the club in the season before.
Hmm.
So of course, I was trying to prepare for the next season, and I was also still playing in the club championship in the last rounds, where the last round was like I think at the beginning of March, so really close before everything shut down. And yeah, it was definitely a motivation to work a bit on my chess and to try to come back stronger when like everything was starting again. So yeah, and also on the other hand, because the old president or chairman of the club didn't want to continue, I think already in 2019, but or in 2020 the latest. Yeah, I volunteered, not really willingly, but there seemed no other choice to be part of a team of 4 people to guide this thing. So I was not the main chairman there. Someone else did this, but I tried to help. And yeah, so of course I was also confronted with topics like, okay, with very different questions, yeah, because in our club we have many older members. I think the average is above 60 or so, yeah.
Hmm.
And so it was always the question, okay, do we simply follow the general restrictions, or do we maybe want to also introduce something a bit more strict in order to protect people? And we were also aware that this might not be welcomed with the greatest joy by at least a certain specific fraction of other members. But yeah, I think we tried to find a proper compromise, and in the end, I think it also worked out. And yeah, I would be happy if this winter we would not be faced with any more difficult decisions.
Okay. And I tried to find your ELO rating. I just found the DVZ. Is it
Hmm.
Deutsche Wertungszahl? I don't know.
Right, yeah, right.
And so how yeah, maybe you can explain that a bit.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I don't have an ELO rating because I have not yet played in ELO rated tournaments.
Hmm.
I mean, I had basically since the end of 2018 mainly 2 years of chess activity at the most, yeah, because I had the full of 2019 and then it's basically it. But the DVZ or DVZ is, it's a bit hard to say, but I would guess from what on average, I think if you add around 50 points to the DVZ, you get roundabout and fitting ELO rating.
Hmm.
And my DVZ is still rather volatile because I don't have that many tournaments, so it's not the usual the usual changes. So I think my highest was 2,249. And after a rather, sometimes with a bit of an unlucky season last season in the league games, in some games I needed to go for a bit more risk. So maybe that we could go for to advance to the higher league. And then if you go for too much risk and not play the normal chess position, of course, it's a bit more tricky. Then it took a bit of a hit. Now I think it's 2,105, but my goal is definitely to go above 2,200 as soon as possible.
It's 2106 right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, and let's talk about a bit about just when was the first time that you thought, okay, how to apply a memory technique somehow on chess? Was there a specific incident, or anything. I personally remember that there was in 2016 the Memo games where we had to memorize
Mhm.
random chess positions, but that was not a real game chess position. It was really
Mhm.
like totally random.
Yeah.
Was that maybe a point, or did you do that even earlier? So how did it come? Yeah.
Um, it was, I think, this was definitely 2016. Was definitely the first occasion where I was faced with a task that involved chess and memory in a tournament, in a memory tournament, and it was interesting. But the methods that I used there were a bit different because, as far as I recall, there we had to memorize specific chess positions, right, and not moves. So it was basically how could you reconstruct this specific position. That I was going more into memory techniques in chess, definitely had to do with my own chess also,
Hmm.
and also with the fact that I had been fascinating with learning chess moves since an early age. I mean, I can recall that I had with like 10 or so one of those ancient chess computers, which were like a
Hmm.
whole wooden board, and um, then it had the CPU inside, and it was always blinking on the squares and so on. And I think then I spent at least one like afternoon or so trying to reconstruct what the moves are that are in the computer's database by seeing what he would play if you play a move and what he would answer and so on. Um, and I thought at some time, okay, this could be useful not only for me, but could also be useful for others. And then I started thinking about how to do this in the best way. And I quickly noticed that there were some specific pitfalls that were not so easily manageable at first glance, but I think I found some nice solutions for those.
Cool. So when did you start working on that, really working on that? Right now you have a course. I think it's already out there, the course, and in memorizing chess.
Right.
And so how long did it take you to really uh, puzzle together such a course? Because I mean, this is a lot of work, and you would put a lot of brain power into um, building the strategies around it. So how long did it take you, and how much work did you put into that?
Yeah, I think it was definitely a process that took place over several months, and because you of course also always have other things that you need to do, and you are making notes, and then you suddenly have a good idea how to tackle that specific problem, specifically how to encode moves in the optimal manner, because there are millions of possible ways how you can encode a specific chess move into an image or into something else. And it was hard to decide between the different options. And I did much self-testing, and there were also different areas like what are you doing when you have a variation in an opening, and when it suddenly is branching out. This was mainly, I guess, the main task, and also the thing that is confusing people the most when they are learning chess normally. I would say it was developed over the course of at least half a year, and then much fine tuning happened. And yeah, at the moment I am teaching that course via my website, so people can contact me, and I am offering this in different specific packages, like a 3-hour course or a 5-hour course, or also something like a monthly consultation where people can like contact me a few different times a month, and it is really going extremely nicely. So my experiences that I had with the feedback of people who took the course were throughout positive. And what is really exciting is that also some title chess players have already taken the course with me, among them two chess grandmasters. And it is, of course, if you do such a course and if you are convinced that it works, then it's still interesting. What is someone saying who is doing this professionally and who is among the 2,000 best players in the world? I'm not sure, but I think at the moment there are 2,500 grandmasters or so. But these are really also among the grandmasters. They were among the stronger side, both were over 2,600. at least at some point in their career. And yeah, the feedback that I got, in particular from one of the Grandmasters, was like really interesting. So it was like, okay, that's a real game changer, and please don't tell anyone about the course. And yeah, but like also players from a normal amateur to an ambitious amateur, and it is, I'm not always giving the same course, because I'm always asking people beforehand what the focus should be. Everybody gets, of course, the basic package, but then we go deeper into endgames or into openings or into memorizing general chess ideas or piece setups. So it's always a different experience, but always extremely positive for me.
And what do you answer to someone? I mean, playing chess is also a matter of repetitions. You do it again and again and again, and you train and you train, and you might read some books about openings, and you might choose your specific opening and play that always, and maybe a second one. So what do you answer to people who say, that's enough, I don't see really a benefit here? I'm not sure if you have been confronted with such a question, or yeah, what do you think? Why is it so beneficial to use memory techniques here on chess? And it's not about memorizing positions, as far as I understand, but more like the moves which you have to do, like for a specific opening, how to react on something. So what's your take here on that? How do you answer that?
I think that's a very interesting question, and I think that many chess players don't like to learn chess information. Often it is, as you have said, that people are taking a chess book or a chess course, and they are just playing through the moves again and again. Of course, they try to understand things as much as possible, but this also hits a specific limit after some time. And then they are just clicking through the moves. And I think the frustrating thing is that people are still then forgetting the moves again. I mean, I've made the same experience also when I was doing some excessive cross-testing with how does it feel to learn a specific chess file. I mean, a chess file is a bunch of different chess variations coupled together. How does it really feel if I do not use any kind of memory techniques, and how does it feel when I learn a different file with the memory techniques? And the point is, you have this extremely frustrating experience that you rather easily can grasp the core of what you're learning. But it is extremely difficult with the normal memory that we have been given from like birth to remember large amounts of detail in a reliable fashion. And this is, of course, extremely similar to the problems that university students are facing, or that people in the job are facing. Because at least that's my personal theory. I mean, I'm not a mathematical expert there, but my personal theory, also based on my own personal experience, is that our brain is not exactly perfectly suited for memorizing lots of details and also keeping these. That's like a huge problem. And what I would answer to someone who came to me and said, but why should I memorize things? I feel it doesn't help me. Maybe it doesn't help people who are learning chess in a different way, in the normal read through it 20 times way, because they have such a high rate of forgetting. And I think that it's definitely worth a try, because the main advantage, and you of course also know this, is when using the method of loci, when you use these locations as memory storage units, that the information is much more stable. So it does not decay after a day or two, but if you repeat it maybe after a week or so, that it can really stay there on those locations for a very long time. And this is a completely different experience.
And you have developed this course, and what would you say? Do you have to be an intermediate chess player, or a pro chess player, or an amateur, or doesn't it matter? Does it matter at all to apply your approach on chess? Or yeah, what kind of experience has someone to bring here before starting with you, for example?
I think that the question is interesting because answer A is it does not really matter how good you are at chess. You can use this even before you know the rules. Yeah. But the other, I mean, as long as you know which square is which, the other question is just when should you start learning openings, or how should you start learning openings or other chess information? I think that's the really important question. Because what you hear often from strong chess players is that memorization is not so useful, in particular when they have, for example, like a stream on YouTube, and many people are asking them in the chat how they should get stronger, and then the classical answer is, don't learn openings. Learning openings is bad for you. And then I'm always asking myself, yeah, but many strong players are using 80% of their time learning openings, so there must be something to it. And in the end, it's like this. Yeah, it all comes down to this fake, let's say, fake conflict between memory and understanding. And this is also something that is, of course, valid also for people who are learning other things. Learning things by heart always had a bad reputation, mainly among teachers or among people who are teaching this maybe in a different way. Because they are afraid that their students would confuse learning things by heart with knowing the subject. These are, of course, two very different things. It is important that you understand your subject, that you really get to the core of what it means, and that you integrate it into your own general knowledge. This applies to any subject and, of course, also to chess information. The other point is that, and this is where I think memory techniques gets its real viability, is that even after you have understood something perfectly, you still usually cannot recall everything to a level of detail that you would like. And this is mostly the case when information is more list-like, more 1, 2, 3, 4, and the separate points don't really have to do much with one another. Or in a concrete chess example, if there are many moves which are a bit computerish and which cannot really be understood at first glance, when there is no real theme to the moves, but when you know that you still need to know them. So I always propagate that you should have a clear harmony between understanding and between memorization. And this is always done in such a way that trying to understand something and also trying to understand chess information comes always first. So I think it would be a bad approach for someone who knows how to use memory techniques to start memorizing a set of moves before they have played through the moves and before they have tried to understand the positions and what you need to do there. That's something that you should always do first, mainly because also if you have this not so ordered but still very active knowledge of what the whole thing means, you also have more that you can be reminded of. So you need fewer triggers, you need fewer images in order to unlock this information. And that's, I think, what is the main way on how you're doing this in a right way. You first try to get a good grasp, and then you try to fill out the details.
So your method is not just brute force learning, but it's really the huge part is understanding the position, and from that point onwards, if you understand it, you're working your way up to memorizing stuff and positions and moves and so on, as far as I can understand.
Yeah.
Cool.
Es ist like I think the main criticism that people have in mind, I guess, when they say memorizing something is bad, is like usually that they are thinking of, let's say, a chess player who is not very experienced and who has maybe 1,000 or 1,100 points, and they suddenly start memorizing a whole chess book of a specific opening. And then when they try to play the opening, maybe they know the moves until move 15 or something, but they blunder a piece on move 4. And then the question is, of course, did they spend their time in the right way? But this is exactly what I mean. This is a bit of a strawman argument, yeah, where you are setting up something that is not really realistic and which is also not something that like people do, and you shoot it down and then you say, okay, the whole thing is not good. Because what this argument I think overlooks is that this instant that like people are brainlessly memorizing information does not happen that often in practice. People are always trying to soak in all of the information, and I feel that many people hit a specific threshold where even looking at a line the 50th time or so, they cannot really memorize it. And I have even experienced this with the 2 Grandmasters that I've been teaching. So they were then presenting me with huge files, with hundreds of moves, and they were using them in their games, and they were really saying, I have played through this every day in the last 2 or 3 months or so, and still I cannot discern on move 12 or so whether it's the bishop move or the knight move, because all of the variations are so similar. Because there you really see that the limitations of natural memory, even if you spend much time, it's not like, okay, if I spend 50 hours more, then I can circumvent this, but you are really hitting a wall. And the interesting thing was, of course, these players had such a high chess understanding, and they knew what was going on, that they needed so few images. I think
Cool.
what was really extremely remarkable, that one of the players had like a file of 400 moves or so, and they only needed 10 or 15 images at specific spots, structured, in order to really play through this whole file for me. And this was really also what they wanted to do. They wanted to show me that file, and I was sitting there for I don't know, 20 minutes or so, and I was really impressed.
Cool. So the more you know, the less you need. So that's maybe the point here. Very interesting stuff. And what I wanted to ask you about, because it just popped up in my head right now, blundering. So I see that actually it's obvious that it's happening everywhere. Actually, also on the top level. And sometimes I was thinking, why is it happening at all? I mean, I as a hobby, a bit chess player, is like, for me, it's like, okay, I know that my queen is in danger, but then I try to make something very clever, and I do something else, and suddenly the queen is gone. I'm not sure how blundering works. Do you have any explanations, or do you know any explanations how blunders work? Because they are so obvious, but people do that anyway.
I think if I had a surefire way to prevent every chess player from blundering, I guess I could buy the world tomorrow. But I think blundering is, in my personal experience, is a matter of attention and of which things you want to prioritize. And as you said, in your example, where you were aware that your queen is in danger, but you also were suddenly thinking of some clever plan. I know this extremely well, because you are juggling a few different options in your mind, and you know that too much time has passed, and suddenly you see this crazy ingenious idea, and you maybe calculate for 1 or 2 moves in advance, and you feel it must work, and then you play it after 5 or 10 seconds thought, after you had thought maybe 10 or 15 minutes before, and then you have a blunder. So I mean, I'm not talking about these time trouble blunders where someone simply doesn't have enough time, but where people really have much time and where they're overlooking something. I think it also has to do something, as I said, with prioritizing of different things, and then also trying to keep track of that. And this ultimately, I think, leads one to the problem that our short-term memory, or our working memory, is limited. I mean, usually people can only always concentrate on one thing clearly. This whole legend of multitasking or so, I think, has been debunked a bit, at least since 10 years, so that people who are who try to multitask, who really try to do two different things, can only do those two things with 50% efficiency. So you can't suddenly double this. And so usually what people are doing is that they are focusing on one thing and then the other thing and then the other thing. And during this process, it can happen that you are losing track of that one thing that you also wanted to take care of. What you can do, of course, there is, I mean, always, if I think about something and I notice that it has to do with our limitations of our working memory, or let's say with the limitations of what we can focus, of our conscious thought or whatever, yeah. I always think about locations. Because in a way, locations can be used to overcome these specific limitations. Yeah, I mean, you know this yourself. When you put a few different informations on a number of locations, then you can suddenly imagine yourself on this specific path, and you can look left and right, and suddenly all of this information that was in your mind is being in a way externalized as some kind of symbol, and it is much easier to think about them from the outside. And you can, of course, also do this with regards to the things that you need to take care of in a specific position. So like in your example, it can even be done with 2 or 3 locations, yeah, at the moment. And this can also be done during chess calculations, but let's stay with, let's say, with prioritizing different ways of attention with regards to the chessboard. You can of course say, okay, on your first location, maybe then you put a queen, and on your second location, maybe you put a soldier or a rifle as a symbol for a kingside attack. And on your third location, maybe you put like a door to a cellar as a symbol for, okay, I don't want to be checkmated on the back rank because here my king is vulnerable. And then you can simply, all of the thoughts that you're having about the specific position, you can have them while standing on each of those specific locations. And what the only thing that you would then need to do is kind of develop a bit of a habit that after you have decided in favor of one of those 3 approaches, taking care of your queen or making a cool kingside attacking move, or maybe making a bit of luft for your king so that he is not getting checkmated, that you then also take a quick look at the other 2 locations and see whether the move that you want to play satisfies the other 2 things. And then you suddenly have an ordered process, which is not happening in your mind one at a time and you're jumping around, but which is a bit more, you have a better overview. And this, I think, is extremely helpful. And you can expand it to 10 things or whatever, but in a very small and limited thing, I feel this can be helpful.
Yeah, I totally agree. It would be a bit like you would have the opportunity to take notes on the side, but you have not, so you just use a memory palace. And this is I think this is a very simple but already very powerful thing. First thing, you have to be aware that things like that happen, and second thing is you have to make a habit, like you said it, to always remind yourself, before I move, I go through these 3 locations, look what is there. Even if it sounds a bit ridiculous, just 3 things, but our brain is so bad at this, so making it that a habit might really be beneficial for having less blunders. It doesn't mean that you never have any more, but having less maybe. Yeah, very interesting. So it sounded like you just developed that here during our talk, but it's maybe you have that also. Do you have something like that also in your course, or is it more about
in a way, this was also a bit of an insight into my into my course, because you are having, of course, a rather similar problem when it comes to chess calculation.
Okay.
That's where this is mainly being treated in the course, because in a way, chess calculation, if you think about it, is also a problem of working memory. You can always only focus on one specific variation, and you're also jumping from one variation to the next one, and you're getting into real problems once you notice that maybe the 3 variations that you were starting with, each is branching out into 3 more. And then you have a bit of an explosion of things that you need to take care of, which can lead to either time trouble, if you are a bit of a perfectionist, or can lead to utter confusion because you don't know which way to follow first, what's the most promising avenue, and also maybe you are suddenly noticing that you are calculating a variation for the second time because you're always going like in circles. And this going in circles, I think, is very typical for a task that is too hard for our working memory to really solve. And I think it's always similar to these specific logic puzzles. You know that you get somewhere on the internet, Einstein solved this in 5 minutes or whatever, or only 95% of people in the world get this wrong or something. And this usually has something to do with that you get a number of facts, that you have to do interactions between these facts, and that you have to exclude specific possibilities. And this is extremely similar to a task of calculating a chess variation. And the reason why it's perceived difficult is not because each of these specific operations is difficult, but because it's hard to keep everything in your mind at the same time and to keep track of what you've done.
Yeah, I think this is really this logical game. Like Anna is bigger than Paul, and Paul is smaller than. And it was always like, but if you just have, I actually just put it on locations so that then it's very easy because everything is there. So yeah, very very nice approach. And yeah, we're slowly getting to the end of today, but I wanted to ask you a few more questions. So, what are your personal goals as a chess player in chess? International master, grandmaster, what is it?
I mean, at the moment, I am, as I said before, at around 2100, and I hope that, or I think that getting to 2200 in my national rating should be definitely possible. And of course, I mean, international master or grandmaster is, I have to say, a much too lofty goal, because you have to start early and you really need to get into it, and you really have to invest time. I mean, I'm also, although I'm not really feeling the detrimental parts of aging, but I'm 43, and of course I don't have the time to invest so much. But there is a small part of mine which is still hoping that one day it might be possible to get like FIDE Master, because the good thing is that for a FIDE Master, you don't need norms. You just need to have at one time, and even if it's just one game between rounds or so, yeah, you have to be above 2300 ELO and have more than, I think, 31 or 28 rated ELO games. And I think this is definitely something that you can aim for. And whether it's realistic or possible, but it doesn't feel that far away that I feel it's impossible. And it's a bit motivating.
Cool. And as an organizer, a part of the board of your club, I mean, you in memory sports, you have been also always like the one people are looking up to. So together with others, but like you are on the top, you're winning tournaments and things like that. In chess, you might also win tournaments, but of course there are younger people who might beat you. Maybe not today, but maybe in 2 years, 10 years, whatever. So what is your approach here? You are more like a guru on the mountain here for these young people in chess, or how do you approach that? So not you in the spotlight as the best chess player, but as the one who is trying to help others to get to the top.
Yeah, I would say this is definitely a thing. Yeah, the point is, of course, chess is an extremely hard fought area, and there are surely also people in chess who are much more talented than me. So what I try to get from being in a chess club is like mostly playing some nice games against people and have fun. I mean that I'm there, and the board of my club mainly happened just by accident,
Okay.
yeah, because I could not accept that our club would have to shut down because the person who led the club before in a very nice way didn't manage to find any kind of real successor. And I'm also extremely grateful that one of my colleagues at the moment is doing more than me in his position. He is the first chairman in a way, and yeah, I think I would try to continue to do this for maybe 1 more year, 2 years max, but my main focus is definitely on the International Association of Memory.
Cool. And last but not least, you have
Yeah.
developed this course for, and you people can look it up on your website. But you're also working on something different for Chessable, or is it? What is that about? You told me that you're working there on something.
Yeah, Chessable. For those who are playing chess, they might know the name. It's a very successful chess site where people can study chess digitally.
Mhm.
So this is usually done that you have a video element and a written element of a course. And the written element, usually if it's a clear chess course about a specific chess opening, for example, it's like just the moves and some written commentary. And there's also a video part that you can buy extra. And the interesting thing is I have approached the people who are guiding Chessable, the Chessable CEOs. And we have been debating doing a chess and memory course for a number of years. And lately, at the beginning of this year, finally, we got this green lighted. So it was really nice. And yeah, I've been working on this since March, and we have already done a number of videos with me teaching another person the memory techniques aspect of chess, and now the part that is still left to do and where I'm working at the moment is to do some standalone videos where I'm teaching people directly, because maybe someone rather wants to watch me teaching someone and to see how that works out, and others maybe want to hear it directly from me. And I really hope that it is possible that the course can still be published this year. There is still quite a lot of work to be done, in particular with video editing, but it's really exciting. And yeah, this is definitely one thing where I'm investing also much of my time at the moment to really get this right.
Cool. And then we will see you next in the Memory Sports tournament in the Asian Oceanian Open
Right.
in 1.5 weeks, which is in a time zone which is not really optimized for Europeans. How do you approach that?
I mean, just to get an impression for people what not really optimized means, it means that we will be having 2 games on Saturday, and if it works well on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. And the games would be starting for someone in the European time zone around at 2 a.m. in the morning. And the second game, I think, at 7 a.m. or so, or 6 a.m. And on the next day, also 3 and 9. So you really need to, either you don't do anything and you just think, okay, I can also memorize just as well when my body thinks I should be sleeping. But I guess I would really try to shift my sleeping cycle a bit so that it feels more natural to me. I did this last year. It was tough, but it is definitely something that pays off when you are in the tournament, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And you can watch that here, of course, everyone on the channel for 2 nights. I will also be online all night long. Simon, of course, I mean, I'm not participating to stream here all night long. So, Simon, thank you very much. That was really nice to have you here, and very nice interview, nice insights. This video is also going on YouTube right now. If you see it and you are watching it on YouTube, it's already here. Then everything, links like to your page and so on are in the description. Just check it out. And Simon, thank you very much. Good luck in the slam next week. And good luck for your chess courses and your own chess goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was an absolute pleasure being here. Thank you for the very nice questions and for the pleasant talk. And much success with this great show, which I think is a wonderful idea.
Thank you very much. And yeah, just for the audience, thank you very much for watching again. Have a nice week. Check out the Memory League webpage for upcoming matches. And then, yeah, as I always finish it here, keep on memorizing. Bye, guys.